with his fifth Group 1, and this one will hit home a little more than them all. It's Muscle Mountain out by 2.5 lengths.
Has run them ragged, and RC Phoenix goes all the way. RC Phoenix wins it brilliantly. Second home, Mufasa Metro. Two outstanding trotting mares in a duel. Queen Elida put her nose in front, and Queen Elida will win it. Queen Elida first is beaten.
Oscar Bonavina 3 lengths away, revving up then result. Majestic Man, Oscar Bonavina leading rip up the lane. Oscar Bonavina dives through for another Group 1 win. Oscar Bonavina won the free-for-all and beat home Majestic Man.
Just believe, call me the breeze. This is the race we wanted. Just believe, call me the breeze. Call me the breeze.
Just believe digging in on the outside and Queen Elida, a dour struggle. Just believe though, a true great of the trotting world in Australasia.
That's okay, Nick. Now we're just talking because I turned everything on properly. Nick Hooper is joining me for Talking Trotters tonight. I'm live in Bendigo. Nick is in Melbourne. Hello to you, Mr. Hooper.
Mr. Campbell, thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much for coming. We're here to just talk trotters, have a little bit of fun, and get about promoting the industry, I suppose, which is... we both love the industry, and we also love the square gaiter, I suppose. It's a cruel thing that we fall in love with, isn't it?
Well, look, that's the beauty's in the eye of the beholder, and you and I are blind.
There is indeed. Got plenty to chat about. Some great racing in New South Wales last week. Some stuff in New Zealand I want to highlight. A couple of interesting little twists in New Zealand. There's a couple of little interesting twists actually in a couple of the states as well, and I'm sure you have. Why don't you start, Nick? I've spoken to you quite a few times, harness breeders, Victorian president, also just a gentleman I've been able to talk to and chat to quite a bit. Where did the love of the trotter come from for you?
When I first started following the trots, as a 19-year-old, I'd go to Moonee Valley, and I actually didn't know the difference, like a lot of people, between what a pacer and a trotter was until someone pointed it out to me, and I thought, oh, okay. And it was one night, it was Lennon, Dark Edge and Digger's Idol. The three of them went nose for nose down the straight at Moonee Valley, and I was spellbound by the Trotters gait. The three of them just going flat out. I mean, I love my pacers and I own pacers too, but the trotting gait just mesmerised me, and I always just had an interest in them. The first horse I had, by luck, was a trotter, and as we know, there can be some frustrations, but just love it. When a trotter's in full flight, there's nothing better in my view.
No, and some great names there too, and all a little bit different, if you like. Lennon, Johnny Justice, Dark Edge, Graham Lang, and who was the other one?
Digger's Idol.
Okay, help me out there. Phil Cherkop? No.
No, it's I'd have to look it up to work it out. But he was a tiny little fellow, but by God could he go.
Yeah, I do remember the horse. Yeah, he was a good little horse. And that's, I know, like one of my early associations, well, funny enough, my early associations with a couple of horses, one was a horse called Young Roman at Johnny Caldo's, who was rode by Rompin' Home. Graham Johansson had actually started him, and then I went and worked for Graham Johansson afterwards, and of course had an association with True Roman, but I had a real soft spot for a horse called Our Real Force. He was just a brilliant horse, and yeah, he was something very special. They're both great horses. I learnt to needle a horse on True Roman, of all things. He would just stand there and just let you do anything. True Roman would. He was just a brilliant horse to be around, mad as you could ever come across, but a brilliant horse. And then you had this other horse, Our Real Force, who was just a rock star. He was just a lovely horse to be around, and of course went on and won an Inter-Dominion as a 4-year-old, but he was only actually 3.5 in New Zealand. So as Real Force, he was an American horse. He was meant to be a colt, actually, when he came to Australia. Very, very interesting set of circumstances that when he came out, because he was a beautifully bred horse, but yeah, he had no goods and chappels, unfortunately.
No, very much. So I'm just having a look here, and these old starts here, Digger's Idol, and I think it's Terry Meredith drove him early doors before Brian Gaff took over and did a fair bit of the driving. Might have been a case of Terry recognised the ability was there and got the little master involved and won quite a few races with him, especially in his early races as I look back.
There's more to a story than that too, but I can't remember the whole thing. But yeah, I was very young back then, and geez, I wish I had bottled everything I was told back then, that's for sure. Nick, just for the record too, I do have the hat, a little bit of banter that started out on Twitter about me wearing the hat. I've changed up the set. Actually, you could sit up there. Could too. I've changed up the set.
Oh, there it is.
I've changed up the set now, and I forgot the hat. And then everyone was saying that I've kept the hat, so I thought, well, I better keep the hat. Beck Morrissey's on here. TikTok wasn't on her best behaviour. Been going terrific, though, TikTok, over the last couple of weeks. But she's a long drive from Bendigo, or Yarra Valley back to Bendigo when you don't beat a runner home. That's for sure, Nick.
Absolutely. No, the drive is always shorter when you've collected the chocolates.
Yeah, it was indeed. I sent you a heap of stats. There'll be one there, I reckon you'd be scratching your head, you'd be wondering what this is. This is Talking Trotters, and we're going to talk Trotters, but I just want to highlight this effort here by Lionel Dobbs in New Zealand at Ashburton on Sunday. I should have had his horse, doesn't matter what the horse is. He's only had it for a few starts, and thankfully got up and got the win. Lionel has sent round 170 runners and brought up his first win on Sunday. Well, 169 he had officially, and 1/3 in amongst all of that. It's a brilliant effort, isn't it?
That's quite amazing. That's his middle name must be Perseverance, I think.
I did have his.
No, it's actually Graham, but we'll call him Perseverance.
Did you look it up? Did you when you saw the name there in the top of the piece of paper I'd sent you with the photo?
Well, I'm doing it now, and yes, it's got all the stats here, and you are absolutely spot on. And yes, first win, so well done to him.
Yeah, it's a good little story being written about him there by, I'm not sure actually who wrote it, but you go to the harness racing, hrnz.co.nz for all your news on everything in New Zealand. And yeah, it's a pacer. Definitely not a trotter, the horse, but well done to him. I think it's a great story. It's what harness racing's all about. There's so many of us want to be in the big races. Doesn't always happen, but yeah, we've got a gentleman following, Adrian Austin. He's got a hat like mine up the top. Tony Chibnall's watching. He's a good galloping man, but also sire of a pretty good little driver there, Geordie Chibnall. So plenty of people watching. Where do you want to start, Nicholas?
Well, there was plenty of good racing, wasn't there? Sydney was the focus of it with the Derby and a decent support card around the country.
Yeah, there was, and I must say well done to New South Wales. 2 weeks have been terrific racing. The MacArthur Mile for the mares and the Oaks the week before, then into the Derby and the Bulleye Cup, and what a field it assembled there. And yeah, good to see Revelstoke winning again for great supporters of mine, Harass the Trotters, who I've actually got up there at the minute. But been a good couple of cards of racing there in New South Wales, and they're really embracing the trotter, aren't they?
They are. They're putting good money into the races. They've got good solid fields through the week most of the time, and a good pool of horses that continues to grow. So rewarded with good fields on Saturday night and some fantastic racing. Yep.
Revelstoke, $190,000 in stakes now. Pat Driscoll's got an embarrassment of great little mares and fillies in his band, not just in the paddock, but also still currently racing. And she's right up there with one of the, you know, when she goes to stud, there's going to be plenty of people chasing her progeny.
No doubt. Quaker Jet out of an Angus Hall mare, and certainly a lot to like about her. Very consistent. Done a great job. 11 wins, 48 starts. As you said, 190,000, 157.5's her mark, and yeah, well deserved win on Saturday night. Before
we go to the other filly, and we want to highlight her, you recently come back from a trip to France. Mares like Revelstoke and that, are they like, we see the stallions and we hear about how the stallions, you know, serve and continue racing. Do they have mares like a Revelstoke that are still there, you know, those Group 1, Group 2 class mares continually racing through to a ripe old age, or do they pull the pin on them pretty early?
You're probably best to get Pat to answer that question, because I am not certain. Certainly they seem to race their horses to a much older age in France, but I suspect that the good ones go off to the breeding barn because they can they're very commercial. They get good returns, and the whole economic basis of racing there in France is on firm footing with excellent prize money and the like. So, yeah, but I'm only surmising there. I suspect that Duncan or Pat would give you a far better answer than I can.
Might have to chase that up in the next week or two. And there's a couple of things I want to highlight on those things going forward. Great field, this field. There's some terrific runs in the race too, but just a good distance standing start race. You know, what was it, $25,000, but good field, and yeah, some really nice runs behind there. But yeah, just a good little race.
Yeah, it was. A few of them messed it up at the start, but the winner, Rebel Stoke, cut down the outside after sitting one out, two back. Leaf Stride peeled off its back and got within a neck on the line, but couldn't quite get there. Funky Monkey not far away, and Majestic Lavros was also getting home pretty well from out the back. So, no, it was a really good spectacle.
You're right. I'm just trying to kill that audio.
No, that's all right. So, no, it was good. Horse that I bred, Utopia, having his first start for Jared Alchin after heading up from the Emma Stewart barn. He managed to maintain his ordinary record from the stand by buggering it up again.
He had no intentions of going away. I saw this horse high in the air, and Fred said Utopia's galloped. I'm like, oh yeah, that's him. he just didn't.
Yes.
He didn't want to be a part of it, did he?
No, and but look, he did. He trialled. I think he's only had the one trial up there, and you know, ran a nice trial. So look, it'll be interesting to see how he settles in up there, and I think those sort of grades that they've got up there will suit him, and he'll probably get a few wins in New South Wales when he gets fully fit and perhaps behind the mobile. Yeah,
the few horses going up early for the Derby, which is sorry, not the Derby, the Inter Dominion, which is exciting, and you know, going to be an embarrassment of riches racing around there in New South Wales in the next couple of months. Although I did look at the feature race calendar, and we're going to touch on that in a sec, but there's not a lot for them from now on for the next 6 weeks, basically, for a lot of these horses, which is probably a little bit of a disappointment. Now, I'm trying to run this, but I am actually, for some reason, having a little bit of a glitch. I'm not having a glitch on me live streaming, but I'm having a glitch on the other one, and it doesn't want to play this video for me, unfortunately. But the Success Stud, Jackie Gibson, good to see her sponsoring the Better Gait, which will get me in trouble from her, that's for sure. But I might just have to let this speed up a little bit. But the Success Stud, New South Wales Trotters Derby, this is becoming a serious race now, Nick, for a lot of the horses, because you get the Queenslanders coming down, the Victorians going up, and the depth of horses from all three states now is just sensational.
It is. I think also the way that the year plays out means that the best 2-year-olds here in Victoria have had a bit of a break, and they're back and ready to go. There's the options here in Victoria, depending upon what you're eligible for, don't really, the major races, as we know, don't pop up until later in the year. So it really becomes at 75,000 a race you want to aim for. And you know, credit to the Lees, the Lavargue Racing Group. They've got the Oaks and the Derby double, and by geez, did Kiyang Zahara let down and sprint when asked to down the straight. She's an impressive-looking young trotter.
She's a horse. She's running about 5th, 6th now, just getting in the picture out wide in the white colours. I'd suggest Jason might have left the colours behind, because they're the Clubman Angle colours, which is would have been scary, I would imagine, for connections before the race. But Fred Hastings said she's got a mountain to climb to get past them, and in the space of 200 metres, she just put them to bed, didn't she? It's just an amazing, unfortunately, as I said, that the other computer just doesn't want to keep going for me at the minute, it's just buffering a little bit. But just got an amazing turn of foot and an amazing balance and an amazing stride.
Yeah, and when you consider that it wasn't like the leaders were cutting the last quarter in 31 or 32, it was leader to winner in 28-2, and she's come from a fair way off them. So it's a hell of a last quarter that she's run, and incredibly strong. Pinny, who had the run up along the inside, did her best to cut the margin down on the line. But, yeah, fantastic run by the winner, and fine run by the second horse. So with Penny being trained by our good friend Andy Gaff.
She's one of those poor little horses in a way. I know you've got a couple of stats on this other horse, but Penny just sometimes you can be in the wrong era, you watch Kiang Ziara, and you think maybe what might be for this this filly, because she does a terrific job and she's got a great stride. She's got a good future. Just Kiang Zara might have a better one at the minute.
At the moment, that's what it looks like. But nonetheless, 9 starts for Penny, 60,000 in the bank. You'd suggest there'll be plenty more, but yes, the connections, the Bit Each Way proprietary limited team up in Queensland will be hoping that they can go one better against Kiang Zahara as the season progresses, I'm sure.
I saw a post. I think Bronte Nürnberger, one of the employees at HRV, might be an owner of that horse, I think, because she put a post up there saying about her filly the other day.
Yes, that's right. It's her family's are the Bid Each Way group. So they'll be thrilled, but looking to go one better, I'm sure.
No, there is indeed. Now you got some interesting stats about this horse. I had Paddy Lee on last week. He said the main reason they went to Volstead, so I don't want to steal any of your thunder, was basically Pat Driscoll told them to. And Paddy's argument back was, if Pat says we do it, we just do it.
Well, look, I'd be interested to know why Pat made that recommendation, and perhaps it's IP that he won't share. But
actually, I'll tell you before you go much further, because of Volstead's stride, so it's got something to do with Kiang Yankee and the stride. I can't remember exactly what it was, but Paddy alluded to last week that Volstead would put a stronger stride into that breed, was what he said. So there's your useless information for you.
Fantastic. Well, I'm sure that there'll be, in general, there's going to be a lot of people. We can talk about Volstead maybe a little later on. But look, my useless bit of information was to look at the pedigree of Kiang Zahara, and this will need everyone, if you're online, to pull up Kiang Zahara's pedigree on harness.org.au. But Kiang Zahara comes from the Valley Victory line. It's fourth. Oh, yes, here we go. Perfectly done. So if you click on the pedigree page up the top left.
This is Kiang Yankee. Do you want Kiang Yankee or Kiang?
No, Kiang Zahara.
Right, I can do that.
So Kiang Zahara.
There's a 40-second delay, but don't stress, I'm up to it. That's the one thing you don't realise, Nick. You're 40 seconds behind Bart.
Right. Okay. I see.
Yep. All good now.
All right. So find that. So we'll get the pedigree up, and we'll see that Victory Dream, who is the fourth sire right up the top. If we click on his name, and we'll see that he's by Valley Victory out of a Speedy Crown mare. And for those that know their trotting breeding, you will know that Valley Victory over a Speedy Crown mare was revolutionary in its time. So if you go back again, you see that Yankee Glide, who's the sire of the Dam of Volstead, is by Valley Victory out of a Speedy Crown mare.
Right.
And then if we go to Muscles Yankee, who's the sire of the Dam of Kiang Zahara, we see that he is by Valley Victory out of a Speedy Crown mare. And it doesn't end there, because Dream Vacation, who's the sire of Dream Interest, is out of Dream on Victory. And Dream on Victory is, you guessed it, by
Valley Victory out of a
Speedy Crown mare. Wow. Now, people can do with that what they will. I've got no idea whether that has helped Kiang Zahara to be as good as it is, and everyone will have their own views. All I wanted to do was just point it out that that's 4 crosses of that cross, which in its time was considered the absolute golden cross back in the 90s.
So it was a golden cross back in the 90s, and yet it's there in the second and third generations of this horse's family as well. So that's how well regarded.
That's right.
Instead of people trying to step forward very quickly, that's how well regarded it is.
Yeah, and look, as I say, you can have your own views on what works and what doesn't, and that's okay. But when you see the very best horses having those crosses compounded. There's, I think that it's a reasonable view to take that it must be having some sort of influence. So Volstead's got 2 crosses of it. Key Young Yankee's got 2 crosses of that cross. It's just interesting, just something different, something for people to become aware of, and you can make your own calls when you're coming to do your own breeding.
Throw you under the bus. Have you had a look at too many of the other Volsteads if they've got that double up?
No, but one of the things we can do, if you click on Volstead, and if we go to Progeny.
Yep.
And then if we went to, we'd have to log into the, say, lifetime starters.
Starters, I'm not logged in. That's my issue.
You're not logged in. All right. So very good. So we might not be able to do it, but if I have a look there, and look, there's always a mix, but so Penny is actually out of a Muscle Mass mare. Of course, Muscle Mass is sired by Muscles Yankee, and there aren't too many others at the moment, but maybe it's only early days. We'll have a bit of a look.
Yeah. They're those little.
There's a Trixton.
They're those
There's
little,
a Yankee Spider.
The little stats that are just little chestnuts, aren't they, in the right spots? Like some people don't agree with them. Some people like to buy a horse on type, and then if the pedigree's okay, they'll buy it off that. Other people just are dead set pedigree watchers, and that'll be one of those ones for people to be able to, I suppose, look at and have a good look at.
No, that's exactly right. So, it's and the stats are all easy enough to find on harness.org.au if you know how to navigate. It's not too difficult. And you can manipulate it pretty easily to see if you are someone who likes to see how the crosses work. You can do it pretty easily and get a feel for it.
Yeah, I just looking at the 2 paces because there's one of those ones with both Cannibal and Confederate coming to Australia. They're both bred. I know this is a trotting show, but yeah, they're both bred very, very similarly. It's a cross that works with the Sweet Lou's over the Rock and Roll Dance fillies. So that's a cross I know a lot of people have been looking at as well. So they're really cool. Nick is a breeding buff, if you like. The other little one that I wanted to point to you, Nick, too, was that the New South Wales Trotters Derby, that's the 5th time a filly has won the Oaks and the Derby at the same, like in the same year. Of course, Rockin' with Attitude did it last year. I should have had this page open and then I would have sounded a lot smarter because I would have been able to roll them off my tongue. But I know there's 2 of Chris Lang's horses involved in that as well. It's just amazing how the fillies have got so much stronger.
They have, and yes, it's something that I was aware of over time having happened, Paul. You're right, it's certainly not the first, and if it's the 5th in recent times, that doesn't surprise me. And I think sometimes it's the fact that the filly has had the run the week before to win the Oaks, probably goes in fully fit. I'm sure there have been Oaks winners where they felt, oh, they're not up to the Colts, we'll bring them home. But if they think they're up to them, they're super fit, they're ready to go. And if they're at the top of their game, then bang, away they go. It's very impressive that can be done. Well done to them.
I can't find that, unfortunately, that story to make myself sound better. I'm sure there was a couple of them with Chris Lang horses, and I can't think of the other one. Interestingly enough, though, last year, Rockin' with Attitude won 2 of those. She'd done the New South Wales and Queensland Oaks Derby double. But then you also had, there was a horse in South Australia done it. And then Sonny's sister done it also in New Zealand, winning the Oaks and the Derby towards the end of the season. So start off this season, we've already had the running of, only had the running of 1, and the fillies come out on top as well. It's quite unique little thing that's changing, I suppose, in the world of trotting, especially here at the minute.
Yeah, look, and again, this is a generalisation that I'm making here, but I would have said over the years that trotting fillies at 3 have had greater success against the trotting colts than the pacing fillies have against the pacing colts. Now, there's a matter for debate, and I'm happy for people to tell me that that's wrong, but it's just my general feeling, and I reckon that if we did the research, I think that would probably show up. Michelle's put a comment in. Let's not forget ability, Nick. If that's in if we're dealing with pedigrees, there's no doubt about that. You can't make a silk purse out of a sow's ear. There's no doubt about that.
No, definitely, and and the horses have to have the ability, and that's one thing Rocking with Attitude definitely does. The other three horses in question as well, they're the same. They were terrific horses. I just can't find that bloody. It was on harness.org. That's where I read it, and I just can't find anything in relation to. It's sort of like the story's been taken down, and I don't know why. It was just a good little story on the filly. I don't think it's in the Queensland wrap because she's not going to Queensland at the minute, Nick, which is an interesting thing. Rocking with Attitude, she did go to New Zealand, to Queensland, was able to capture both those, and also I think from memory ran fourth in the Great Square. So it's an interesting thing that they're not going down up there.
Yeah, no, very much so. I think, Darren Garrard's point there is quite true as well. So, yeah, very much so.
Yep, and Tyler Dew, hello to you. And Nellie Melba sitting down having a glass of red. I'm sure there's plenty of other people that would enjoy that. One of the things that the telltales why they're not going, though, Nick, was quite interesting as well, because the Derby and the Oaks are going to be run on the same night in Queensland this year, which is going to be interesting in itself.
Well, that'll make it difficult to win both, I would have said, but, you never know.
Well, here's a couple of things for you. It's a week after the Great Square, so they've got to back up a week after taking on the 4-year-olds. And then on top of that, last year, the Derby had 6 runners and 4 of those were fillies. So what happens this year, I know there's a few more boys up and about this year, but one of those races may not stand up.
Hopefully the fact that we're talking about it means that people who've got a decent 3-year-old colt or gelding actually open up the good book and have a look at that as a prospect. There's people complain that there's not enough good races around with good money. Here's an opportunity, boys and girls. Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's on the 19th of July, $31,000, both of those races. And as I said, the Great Square is actually 6 days earlier. How does that work? So they must be on a Friday night by the looks. No, I don't. Is my maths wrong there, Nick? Where's my phone? I better check my calendar because it actually says the 13th is the Great Square, and then the 19th is the Queensland Oaks and Derby. So it's actually not even a full week. It's 6 to 8 turnaround, which is even odd in itself, actually. So yeah, they go back to a Friday night. Yeah. So I wonder what's going on there. There's Saturdays,
They must be having all the paces on the next night by the looks of that.
Looking at the actual programs, yes, the Friday the 19th has got the Trotters Oaks and the Trotters Derby. So and on the 20th they've got as I scroll on down, the Trotters Sprint. When is the Great Square? So
the Great Square is on the 13th. The Great Square is the first week, the 13th.
Yes, it is. Yep. Yes, it is.
Yeah. So
there's 6-day turnaround.
Yeah, and some of those boys that have already been invited to and girls to the Great Square because Rocking with Attitude's going back. London to a Brick is going back because he won it as a 3-year-old last year but didn't contest the Derby. Christopher Nosey, I think, is in talks. He's got Love Me Too actually over here as well. Bet and Win is on his way, lovely 4-year-old from New Zealand. I don't think Sunny's sister will be going after her bad manners the other day, but you never know. There's still plenty of water to go under the bridge for her as well. So, it's going to be tough for a 3-year-old to line up in that. And then the Derby or the Oaks, they may line up in that and do what London to a Brick did and not take on either of them, which will be interesting.
Yeah, very much so. Look, I don't. Well, look, I'm sure our friends in Queensland would have their reason for doing it, because you look at the program on the 20th of July, and there's a qualifying pace, the Band 5 pace. There's no real reason why they couldn't be run on the Friday night, and you'd think because. Anyway, I'm sure there's a good reason, but it doesn't jump out at you, does it?
No, I'll get them on next week. I had Darren Clayton on last week. Next week or the week after, I might get Bricky on. We might talk Carlton Football Club, and then we also might talk some Trotters as well. We'll just see how we go. Any Melbourne supporters out there, hello to you guys as well. So can't miss them. It was a very hard last quarter, but we won't worry about that too much, Nick. You're not talking footy either, are you?
No. My team, the Bye, formerly known as the Tigers, are... We're fighting it out with North for the number 1 draft pick in the Fat Rats Clacker Cup in round 21, I think. So that's going to be a great display of incompetence to see who gets the first draft pick, I think.
Right, back on the track for a second here, you. We're going to go back here to this feature race carnival. And for the Trotters, this is just one I wanted to highlight. They say about how tight the schedule is, and I know it is the depths of winter. But you'll see here on the screen there, I've got the 11th to the 5th. So we go down, we've got 5 weeks, and we have got the Matriarch Trot for 4 and 5 year old mares at Melton. And then we've also got a 3, 4 and 5 year old trotters at Menangle for 30,000. So they're there. Then you go to the start of July, the 6th of July for the Stella Square, which I imagine a lead up for the Great Square. 2 weeks out. The Daryl Alexander Trotters Championship. There's a bit of a gap, if you know what I mean, like for feature racing in the next sort of 5-6 weeks. It's interesting when everyone says about how tight the calendar is and where to fit things in. There's almost this nice little gap. I know we've got the Road Cup in New Zealand, and we'll touch on that in a sec as well. But it's next week, and then there's nothing in New Zealand either. There's a little bit of a gap for the feature race for the Trotters, mate.
No doubt about that, and I think if you're looking at your 3-year-olds, then you've got a few races in there that you can focus on. But yeah, the open class, there's nothing of note. There'll probably be a few free-for-alls run at Melton to keep things ticking over, but. No, I suspect that you'll be tossing your horses in the paddock and wait for the end of the year, which, in a sense, if you're top grade, that's when it's all going to happen, isn't it? With so much focus in the last couple of months of the year with the Inter-Dominion, and then the Great Southern Star and all of the races through January and February, as we know. So. That's clearly the focus at the upper end, but there's holes there that can be filled, mares racing opportunities and the like. But
it was just one of those ones. I wasn't one of those things I was expecting to bring up. I just got the feature calendar. I thought I'll get these dates so I know when all these races are on, and I started looking and I was like, this is sort of a bit odd. There's a little bit of a gap there, and I'm not picking on anyone. It's probably a good time for participants to pack up and take a holiday too, if they can. It's not always that easy, but yeah, good to get out, especially in Victoria, to get out of here in the winter. The other part though is with Queensland with 150,000, and then you can race those horses for 30,000. There's nothing to be sneezed about the money on offer for these trotters over this winter carnival, which again, Nick, yourself as a pure trotting lover, it's awesome to see Queensland embracing the trotter like they are.
It is. It's the culmination of a few years of, more than a few years of effort by the administration team up in Queensland, locals who are keen on the gait, but also we've mentioned him a few times, but Pat Driscoll has made a number of efforts over the years to get horses up there, to get racing opportunities. He's got some of his stallions standing up there, and those efforts are now, appear to be bearing fruit.
Yep, and of course he is the sponsor, the naming rights sponsor to the Great Square, and he loved it last year. He said it was just outstanding. It was a lot of fun, and encourages other people to get up there. There's no talk of any of his horses going up there yet, so it'll be interesting to see what he sends up there as well. So, which will be really, really cool. Nick, I'm going to go to New Zealand. I don't expect you to know everything because it's not that easy. I love New Zealand harness racing full stop. Plus I keep a good eye on it because a lot of my sponsors are from there as well. And the likes. We showcased a horse last week. I'm not going to try and showcase this video again this week. It's by What the Hill, the previous sponsor of this actual show. But a horse called Yeah Right Dale got the chockies at where was it? At Addington last weekend in race number 1. If you had watched the run the week before, Nick, this was the greatest moral ever, except for the fact that it was a 2-year-old trotter. It was a phenomenal run the week before. I don't know if you saw its losing run as compared to its winning run.
No, I haven't. I'm busy educating myself now, so you keep rolling whilst I catch up.
Well, I want you to have a look. So what are you doing? Having a look at last week's run?
Just finding it now on the so it ran third last week.
Yep. It was phenomenal. The only time you see it is at the 400 metre mark. You'll see the toes of it starting to come into it, and then it's looking for room. Still got beat 15-20 metres, but it was terrific. As a breeder, mate, and a person that actually likes it, you need to look up the second horse, Carla Pixie. It's by a horse called Carlton, mate. And I thought you'd like this as a good die-hard Richmond man. I thought I'd need to showcase this for you. But Greg and Nina Hope actually raced Carlton. And I spoke to Greg about it. Greg's pretty excited about this stallion. This horse is yet to win Carla Pixie, but it's going to win a race, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's a Carlton, a Dream Vacation stallion out of Another Love, a Love You mare, out of Another Starlet, a daughter of Lily the Pink. So some big names there that suggest that the on pedigree anyway, Carlton has got a decent background, unlike the football club.
We've got a great background. It's just all in brown paper bags.
Yes.
It's actually interesting though because. Both Greg and Nina, they had a mare called The Earth Moved, who has an interesting reason for her name, but she's, I don't know how I'm going to be able to find her actually, but she's just a prodigious lever of horses. Actually, I think I can because I think she had another winner on the night. But she just seems to leave. They actually sold her just recently because they've got fillies and colts. They've had so much out of this family and just does a terrific job. But they've actually sent her twice back to Carlton, and they could have probably gone to anyone with this mare because she leaves winners all over the place. I don't know where that trotter is. There he is, Mr. Love. He's one of those out of The Earth Moved. Yep. So The Earth Moved was actually named, just so anyone's not aware, as my thing won't update, was named when Christchurch was hit by the earthquakes. So that's actually how that was. Michael House was actually foaling her down. She was foaled down. Sorry, she was born when the earthquakes were on, this mare. So that's how she actually got her name, and she's a terrific breeder. She leads winners all the time. So Crazy in Love, Mr. Love, Torvey, Freya. Freya's a lovely little horse. It's only had 1 win so far from 4 starts as well. But then they went to Carlton twice after that. That's what sort of, it's just one of those ones. He only had 3 starts himself, Carlton, and won one of those. But yeah, he's got a chance.
He does. Just noting Carla Pixie's out of a Monarchy mare. And funnily enough, Monarchy's dam, Armbro Monarch, is by Valley Victory out of a Speedy Crown mare.
I figured that when you were saying those ones before. I actually was wondering that, and I'm glad you brought that one up. That's that is for sure. You see, this is why you're on this show. I actually enjoy this banner. Hopefully, our people there. We've got plenty of people watching. That's for sure. Melinda Thackeray is on there watching, and Danny. There's one other horse that I would like to highlight, Galway Girl for Craig Thornley and Steve McRae. This filly, she's a terrific filly, this filly. She doesn't win out of turn, but her record, 30 starts, 8 wins. She's now won 112,000 in stakes. She can be a little bit of a handful. She's the most unique horse, Nick, I've ever seen for a trotter. She must do Craig's head in and Stevens. She can flick from a pace without missing a beat. I watched her one day at Addington, and she was coming down the outside trotting, and all of a sudden she was in a pace. And when you watch the replay, you can't see the horse change gait, but she just is able to do it. She's just a very, very strange filly. But not a high class mare or anything like that, but just a mare that I've got a lot of time for, and I think it's great to see some people, getting a horse and having a bit of fun with it.
Yeah, well, the damn Unibromac is by Live or Die out of a Holmes Hanover mare, out of a Beau Scott's Blue Chip mare. So it's probably that gives a hint as to her capacity to trot and pace. And Majestic Sun, the sire. So the mixed pedigree there is obviously going to cause them a few issues, but clearly a horse that goes quite nicely with 8 wins to its name.
Yeah, and that's, as you said, that's where the speed comes from. We'll stay on New Zealand, mate. I haven't spoke to you about Just Believe. Can you believe what you're seeing with a horse like him?
Well, I now can. I mean, I remember a year ago I was fortunate enough to wander over and see him see him run in the Elite Lock. And at that time, I think we all, and I think I can say this for Greg, Sugars and Jess at the time, talking to them, that we all knew that Just Believe was a very, very, very good horse. But at that stage, we hadn't quite realised how good he was. And then, of course, he went super, and we thought, wow, what does this mean for the rest of our horses back here? But as the last 12 months has unfolded, we've now realised that Just Believe is in probably the top handful of trotters ever produced in Australasia. And by the time he finishes, there'll be, I suspect, arguments made if he keeps on going that he'll be in the top 2 or 3 if he's not there already. So I think we've all gradually got used to the idea that Just Believe is more than just a nice horse. He is unbelievable. I know that one of the reasons that Greg and Jess took him to Sweden was because he's a horse that is just knows what he's doing, has completely the right attitude, is the perfect racehorse, knows what to do in a race, obviously has the talent, is trained brilliantly, and he has now just been putting the best in New Zealand to the sword in unbelievable style. I think we're seeing a once-in-a-generation horse.
I'd agree with that, and I'm put my hand up. I said that when I came back from New Zealand after seeing Muscle Mountain, that he was the best in the Southern Hemisphere, and the Australians may not have got a chance to see him because he fibulated and a couple of other things. It wasn't a rash statement. I think at the time, he's scary, and he may not be quite back at his best at the minute, Muscle Mountain, but on face value, I think he has to go as good as he's ever gone to be able to keep up with Just Believe. Both horses are winners. They both like winning, so whether he could beat him or not, I don't know. But he's got to find a couple of lengths. I know he's going around on Friday night coming up, and I'll show those fields in a sec. But he definitely got to find a bit of form. Oscar Bonavena was brutal, being brutal over there, bashing up everyone else. All of a sudden, he couldn't even keep up on Just Believe's back the other night after with Muscle Mountain's back. With him outside of him, I think he's stamping himself as one of the best we'll ever see.
Yeah, I think that's right. I know when Just Believe won a couple of starts ago, I think it was, Greg didn't even pull the plugs. And in conversation with him before this latest run, Greg, I think, sort of knew that he probably wasn't going to get the front. He'd have to sit outside the big fella. And I think that he was of the view that the plugs would probably need to be pulled. And I suspect that they were, but when they were pulled, it was what he did when he knew that he was being asked for the effort. And you're right, Oscar Bonavena had every opportunity, fantastic horse. And it's when you see that, maybe, I don't know whether Oscar Bonavena was at his very best or not, but to see what Just Believe did, it was nice because we've enjoyed in a sense over the years the best Kiwi trotters coming here and making our best look, I'll say in inverted commas, second rate. And for it to go the other way, I think left Australian trotting lovers with a great feeling that we've seen the opposite, that we've sent an Aussie over there and has proven they're better. And again, whilst this sounds like a Pat Driscoll love story. He's bred by Pat. He's by Pat Stallion Orlando Vici, and it just speaks to the increasing depth of quality that we have in this country, partly but due to Pratt and Duncan and the many others who breed trotters, that we now find ourselves with a product that is, if it's not world class, it is one step short of at the moment. We should be really proud of our trotters.
Yeah, and look, you go back to, and I don't think he was 100% wound up Melbourne when RC Phoenix went 53 and he couldn't catch him. I'm not putting anything against Just Believe, and I'm not saying RC Phoenix is a better horse. Geez, it's exciting for what's to come still in the racing ranks when you think of a horse like him. He's in the paddock at the minute getting ready for next year where he'll have to probably step up a little bit. It is so exciting, isn't it, for the depth of horses?
It is. It is exciting. You know, I mean, I've always loved the trotters like you, but the trotters free-for-alls, even through the last couple of months, have been excellent races. You look at the depth, and there's you feel sorry for some of them that are running 8th and 9th against such good horses. It's hard work, but that's what good competition brings.
Yeah, it is, but I think it's exciting, and I think there's so many people like Kath McIntosh is watching there, Anna from Juniton, she's on as well. Plenty of people watching. Cam Bray is on from New Zealand, and don't forget the Weanling sales are going to be over there, and the Rowe Cup, which is on the 24th. The 23rd is the Weanling sale. The 24th is actually the Rowe Cup night, and that'll be Just Believe. I see there's an exclusive that it's going to be his last run for a while. I think that might have something to do with the feature race calendar as well. There's probably not a lot for him other than getting ready for the Inter Dominion and that. But we say that maybe Muscle Mountain's not quite at 100%. Oscar Bonavina might have been a little bit off. We don't say that about Just Believe. We haven't had to say that for a while, and he can't be 100% right every time he steps out, but he still gets the job done, Nick.
Well, again, I think it speaks to the constitution of the horse,
yep.
But also the way that Greg and Jess prepare him, not just in the moment for the races, but the way that they look after him and all of their horses. I say that I probably need to declare that I've got some of my horses with them, so I'm blowing their trumpet, so to speak, but only through what I see with the hard work that they do, like many other participants. But the way Just Believe goes and it continues to go is testimony to the way that their team look after them. It really is impressive. But also the support they've had in New Zealand, where the horse has been staying. So all these things are, as we know, are a team effort, and they've got a great team around them. And Just Believe's a lucky boy to have the support that he's had.
I was lucky enough, Greg, come on the show a couple of weeks ago live, just to answer questions. I love the way they go about it. The industry needs more people like them, not less people, and doing it. And look, the other thing, Nick, and you know this, and I know as well, they're not taking more horses. They've got a life balance that they're struggling with probably a little bit at the minute because of Harry and Jimmy, I suppose, to a lesser degree, and that they have a plan on how they want to run their life. And Harry's probably thrown a curveball, but they're living it at the minute. But they're so good for the industry. I think the pair of them, that's for sure.
Yeah, look, that's right. I mean, look, Harry will. Horse goes on for forever. They know that that little ride will end at some point in the future, and then they'll be back training slow horses bred by me. So that's when life will really peak for them.
I don't think so. They've got horses like Love Gun. They work their track out. The Trotters are just outstanding. They just seem to keep improving, don't they, at the minute the Trotters there? It's just terrific how they're going.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously Love Gun had a real nice win on the weekend. That race is probably just worth a few minutes of our time just having a look at, because a very strong up to 105 rating race with some really nice horses in it. I must admit, I'm watching it. Love Gun at about the 300. I wouldn't have backed him with monopoly money. He looked as though he was just struggling a bit round the turn, but once he got balanced in the straight, he finished strong. Ebony's Avenger is for Chris Angove is just a horse that continues to impress. She's a Wish, starting its 4-year-old campaign for Neville Pangrazio, hit the line really well. Loxley Lover, Zarum, who's a horse that I love and have had a connection with. Carla Innes-Goodridge and Dean Goodridge, good friends of mine, have done a wonderful job with him. He hit the line well. You know, there was you could throw a handkerchief over the front 9 or 10 of them in the run there. So again, the depth in that grade is incredibly strong as we sort of see, Love Gun, getting down there and getting the chocolates. But it was a good bit of programming. You know, if we just talk about that for a second, can I talk about programming? Because
you can whatever you like, my friend. It's not a hassle.
Like. Yeah. I mean, programming in the top range, because of the fact that so many of the horses sit in rating below 55, it does get a bit thin. So programming can be a bit difficult. But full credit to the programming team for running that up to 105. A good race, and we saw that A in the betting and B in the race that it was. I'd love to see them continue to throw in some continued variety around the Metropolitan class racing, throw in some different ceilings, some different conditions so that you're creating different opportunities. Because as we know, once your horse gets up above about an 80 rating, if all you can go in is the free-for-alls, you're in a bit of strife. So it's a tough gig with a smallish pool of horses to get all of the racing opportunities right there. But I just encourage the programming team to keep coming up with different ways of programming races and giving everyone at least a feeling that they're a chance. And you get the right run, you can still win good prize money. Yeah,
exactly. And you can go up and down too in this rating system, but sometimes you can just get stuck there too, can't you? And you can be in that grade, like you said, you either take it on, just believes, or you're basically handicapped out of it, because that one there was preferential draw in your last $4 as well. So that gave that horse that might have been racing against those upper echelon horses for a while and not filling a place at all, a chance of getting a barrier draw perhaps over some of the horses coming through, winning, because they're winning that, it shakes that barrier draw up, and it really does change things. I think they cop a pretty hard time myself, the handicappers, and the people putting the races on, and that, because it is a thankless job. You only ever seem to notice your own class. So I know a lot of people say to me, if you've got a horse that's won 4 races and it's already a 60 rater or whatever it is, but you're only looking at yourself. I think sometimes you've got to be able to look at the whole product. I agree with you. And I will say the other thing, Nick, I do like, before we go off too far, I want to talk about Virginia Clowers as well. Putting these free-for-all horses on at the start of the night, I think is terrific. I haven't seen the betting turnover to do it. I've been told why they're doing it is because basically when the thoroughbreds finish, the punters are in the tab, they bet on horses with form that they know. So again, back to your part about programming races, it's a good betting race. Put on a good betting race with horses that people know. They'll continue to bet on the trots early on in the night. Hopefully we can keep them all night, but there's no point putting those races on at races 7 and 8 if no one's there to bet on them.
No, very much so. I did notice that, and I think race 1 had that first 4 jackpot with where the pool got up around 40 or 50 grand. Yeah, absolutely. Especially when we're in this winter period, the gallops finish early. Everyone's still in the pub before they head home. I think it's worth trying. And with a lot of these things, and I agree with you, I think the programming team do a good job. Yep. They're often trying a lot of things. There's a few things that I've noticed. We all look at it and go, oh yeah, I don't quite agree with that, or maybe there's too many or not enough of these races. Everyone will have their point of view, but I love the fact that they're having a crack. They're rolling things out. They'll have their measurements, and if they don't work, they don't work. If people don't nominate, well, they won't put the race on, or if they aren't getting the field they want, they'll try something else. So I think the key is to keep trying. One of the problems, just to go back to one of the things you said, is that if the same rating thresholds are used all of the time in programming races, then those numbers feel like significant barriers. And that's where floating around with the numbers and where the upper threshold is, or the range is in the race, I think that's important, because you might go, all right, we're not well placed this week, but there's a race next week that we can have a crack at. And I think that's important. I know they're the sort of things that I look for when I'm having a look to see where my horses might be running. I'm sure everyone's in the same boat. You'll want to see something that you feel as though your horse has a chance in. It mightn't be this week, but hey, maybe the next week, that's when you can have a crack. So I just encourage them to keep trying new things and throwing in different variables. And not everything's going to work, but as long as you're having a go, we'll get there, we'll improve, which is all it's about.
Yeah, and just on that too, and I agree entirely, because the other part of it is if you get a horse, say, to an 80 rater, the number that you picked out before, it doesn't matter. If you get a trotter to an 80 rater and you say, well, the only options we got now is metropolitan free-for-alls, that horse will end up in New South Wales or Queensland or somewhere else like that, because people are going to, some people will want them because they love their horses, and, you know, myself and Marie probably fall in that category, but other people, it's a business for them. And they'll say, well, we can earn more money in Queensland than we can in Victoria, and then that lessens our product, which we don't want. So putting this, I suppose, a little bit of almost uncertainty about what they're going to program as well, Nick, you know, actually is good for horses staying here and keeping the best horses racing in Victoria, which is what we want.
Well, at the end of the day, I couldn't agree more. And the programming team and HRV know that the key to increasing turnover is to have full fields. The only way you have full fields is if you keep horses in the racing population. And how do you keep them in the racing population? It means that the owners feel as though their horse is a chance of earning. Now, not everyone's going to earn because there's going to be one winner each week, but if you're going into races feeling as though you're a chance, or even if not this week, but next week there's a good race, we'll give them a run this week, and we might run a place, and next week we're a real good chance, then people keep paying up. And that's the key ultimately, because all of us owners are mad as hatters, but if we feel as though we're a chance, we'll keep on going.
No, absolutely, you're spot on. You're spot on there. I'd love to say that we're the only ones that fall in love with them, but I think we all fall in love with them. That's, you know,
we do.
It's one of our downsides. It's also what makes this sport so great, I think, and we've got to be able to sell that part.
Yeah.
Brent Lilly.
But the other trot on the program is another good example of tried something different. The stand that Virginia Clowers won. We'll talk about her in a second, but the standing start based upon number of $15,000 races won. Again, a nice variant. It just mixes it up. It gives you a race that you can look at. And I mean, I'm not trying to ignite the stand versus mobile debate, but from a given the Trotters still run in stands, it was a good tool to have. And I think with one exception, they all trotted away brilliantly. And Virginia Clowers, who won the Warragul Trotters Cup a couple of weeks ago in fine style, I just reckon that Chris Alford's drive on Virginia Clowers on Saturday night was the best drive of the night. And the reason I say that, began like a rocket and took the front. Didn't stop there, because if you look at the quarters, went over a lead time of 92, which I've got no idea whether that's fast or slow, but 31, 30, 29, 28, that is just, in my opinion, the perfectly rated drive, where every quarter got a fraction quicker. No one could really make a significant move, and he's on a really nice mare there in Virginia Clowers. Well done to him and Brent Lilly. Yeah, and Lils is doing an awesome job with a lot of these horses. Of course, this horse was previously trained by Anna Donnelly in New Zealand, coming out for the Oaks and a couple of other races, and I suppose didn't really strike form, but had a little let up, and she's come back with 3 on the trot, and won't be the last one, that's for sure. Yeah, very much so. Kiyang Zena, who ran third, of course, is out of Kiyang Yankee, making it a sister to the Derby winner. Is it a half or 3/4? It might actually be. I think it's a half, because it's by Father Patrick. No, 3/4. Both. Because Father Patrick's by Cantab Hall, so is Volstead. So, yeah, 3/4. Yep. And Illawong Lara J for Jess Tubbs ran second. Lady Adelia. So the mares managed to dominate that race, I think, finishing in the first 5 positions, if I'm not getting that wrong. Yep. And on the standing start, Mark Gurry, I'm going to get to you in a sec. On the standing start conversation, Elderbaron Boyd is actually a very, very good standing start horse. He just had an off night. And that happens. He could have done the same out of a mobile. So that horse doesn't worry. You don't worry too much about that. He had an off night, and you just forget about that and line up next week. Yeah, that's right. I don't even know. Does Mark Gurry own
because he owns quite a few horses. No, he doesn't. Mark Gurry says here, sounds a bit too Victorian-centric. He doesn't agree with us, but it's with it being bad to send horses to New South Wales, Queensland or South Australia. Totally agree with you, Mark, but what we're trying to say is trying to keep the betting product. We want it in all of the states big, but we don't want a mass exodus of horses leaving here because they've got to 80 and they want to take on Just Believe, because all of a sudden we're not going to have a product here either. So it is one of those ones. We want trotting everywhere, right across the board, and I think the continued growth, we started the show off that way. Didn't we, Nick, saying about the job that New South Wales have done, and Queensland speaks for itself over the Winter Carnival.
That's right. And look, it's all about balance. And Mark, if it does sound a bit too Victorian-centric, then it probably is a little bit, because that's where we're based. But I agree with what you're saying. This is, and again, as an owner, you've got to place your horse where they've got the best chance of winning. And if it means putting your horse into state, then that's absolutely the thing to do, and take that opportunity. So, and people will make their own calls, and you pat them on the back for it. As long as the horse is in the racing population nationally, that's the main thing. But we are a bit Victorian-centric, but Victorians have been known to do that a little bit, haven't we?
Yeah, and we will continue to do it, because Mark races horses in Queensland, Master Lavros, and I forget the other horse that he had in the Derby the other night. I think it was Head 'em Up. No, not sure if it was Head 'em Up or the other horse, but he had a share in one of the horses the other day. And of course he's got, I've forgotten his name, Nick. You're going to have to help me out here. John Justice's horse race in the Inter Dominion was bred by the Kirkwoods. Mark, you'll have to come on and give me a hand. I forgot his trotter's name. I'm going to be in all sorts when I see him next time. He will definitely tell me off for that. Nick, as a breeding buff, Creatine does an awesome job. Mufasa Metro, that's his name. Sorry, Mufasa Metro was the name of that horse. Very sorry, Mark. So, yeah. Yeah, Creatine hasn't quite had the fanfare over the journey. Probably had some smaller numbers, but he's had 27 to start in Australia, 18 winners, and average earnings of 31,000. They're pretty good numbers. And that average one will continue to increase as his horses reach a little further into maturity. So he's been available on and off creatine, and at a reasonable price. There've been some people get some very nice progeny. Neville in New Zealand, I think, stood him. Is that correct?
Neville did, yes. Paul Graydon and I bred one to him a number of years ago. It raced but hasn't won so far. But he's a lovely looking horse, and by Andover Hall out of Muscles Yankee, always an interesting cross, the two of them.
That is indeed. You love your crosses. Right, going back to New Zealand, because you took me off New Zealand. You went to Victoria beforehand, but that's okay.
Yes.
This Friday night, the 17th of May, at Auckland, there's some terrific trot races. There's a 2-year-old Young Guns trot, Meant to Be and Higher Power, both from the Barry Purdon Scott Phelan team, are absolutely flying. Meant to Be is a serious horse, got a great finishing speed, was outstanding winning last week. I think it brought up 999 for Zach Butcher on that occasion. Good little race, the 3-year-old championship as well. There's plenty in there. I did notice Empire City, yes, she is in there. Peter Argus is on. They put their horses at the bottom. A little bit different to us. If you actually have a look at go from the bottom up, a lot of the time is where you find the best horses. So Paramount Kiwi, Empire City, Bounce and Beyond, Love Me Again, who is Love Me 2's full sister, goes very good. Father Barry, Princess Sadie's another horse for Matty Williamson, a horse worth following. So that is a very, very good race. That's the IRT NZ Sire Stakes for the 3-year-old trotters, that one there. Then there's another 3-year-old trot. Have a look at this for an embarrassment of riches. 14 nominations in that one. Then they've got an up to 69 with another 10 horses in that. And then they've got this race here. I had it on the wrong screen. Sorry, make it a bit hard for everyone to be able to see, but it doesn't matter now. This is the faster, 65 or faster discretion in the Anzac Cup. We've got one Australian and one pseudo-Australian, I suppose, in it. But a good field there. Oscar Bonavina, Muscle Mountain, Kai Valley Hotspur, Midnight Dash, all cashed up and Love in the Port. So fields aren't out yet, but I do encourage people to make a point of keeping an eye on those fields. They come out tomorrow and tune into Over the Ditch, where we'll highlight those. But that's going to be a terrific trot, that the Anzac Cup over there, Nick.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, great depth in those nominations, and a lot to look forward to for fans over there and fans back here. Given that we get to watch the vast majority of it, nice, good time.
Yeah, it is, and that's going to be a ripping night. There's 5 good trots there, as I said. Interesting, Kai Valley Hotspur going across there. He's in terrific form. He's as well. He'd be the Cups king here in Victoria. I think he's won 5 country cups this year alone. So it's interesting that he's made the trip across there, and I think he's going to the Road Cup the week after. So he's not scared of Just Believe, that's for sure.
He's beautifully bred, but showing a fair bit of ability. He's the sort of horse that, again, if we were all trying to crystal ball to 12 months down the track, that one wonders whether he might be in the top few in 12 months' time, because they've built him up nicely. He's clearly got the speed. He appears to have the strength. Going to be interested to see how he goes over there for sure.
He was a Derby winner, yeah, definitely. He won the Derby at Maryborough. We were there on the occasion. I'm sure I was there on that occasion. Yep. So yeah, he's a serious horse, and he's only getting better and better and stronger, and seems to be the nice little racehorse. So it could, exactly what you're saying, might be almost like we'll go across there, take on the big boys, and then next year when we go back, they're going to know we're seriously here, which is exciting. Again, more depth for the Trotters. I can talk forever, but I don't want to hold you much longer, Nick, but we can still talk, so don't worry. There's a couple of things I wanted to highlight. Maryborough, which was a Friday just gone. Love You had a double. He ended up having basically the next night as well, which is nothing unusual for Love You to have a double, but Loverness by Love You out of I Am Who I Am, a Muscle Hill mare, beautifully bred horse. Great to see Kayleen Ward, a name a lot of people may or may not know, depending on their age, back in the winner's circle, Nick.
Am I right in saying that Kayleen is Peter's daughter? Or
exactly.
Have I got the right family?
Yep.
And in fact, I'm assuming that PL Ward in the ownership might be Peter. Fantastic. And, Kai Valley Hotspur by Muscle Hill out of a Love You mare. This one's by Love You out of a Muscle Hill mare. So, it's you can take your crosses whichever way you like. But Loving Us, beautifully bred. Nice to get its first win for them.
And I think it's Kath. There's 2 K Wards there. One's Kayleen, and I'm pretty sure it's Kath. And I'll get into trouble. One of my greatest thrills, actually, Nick, as a 16-year-old I was, and got to, back then we were able to climb into the carts on Empire Fella when he won the Bendigo Cup. I'm pretty sure it was Empire Fella horse that Peter, free-for-all horse that he had, and he won the Bendigo Cup, and I was able to sit in the cart and parade the horse after the race win out on the track. I loved it. It was one of those good wins. The other one I wanted to highlight though was the Kai Valley Surf Rider for Katrina Fitzpatrick. Always good when she gets a winner. She's up and about, and it's always good to see, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. 13 wins now, 74,000 in the pot. So been a really solid performer. 13 wins, 30 placings from 109 starts. First win for the season, but I'm sure they would have been thrilled with that. As you say, Love You out of an SJ's photo mare, out of a Royden Boy mare, and Sunny Gal, who out of Sungate Song. So that family,
wow.
A strong family over the last 20 odd years.
Sungate Song is the mother of Sundom?
I think that might be true. It might be right. And the runner-up in that race, Aldebaran Marshall, of course, an Aldebaran bred horse with the Spinocios, by Andover Hall out of Mason Magic, who it's brilliantly bred, being one of the Cadabra mares that sits in our gene pool. So only had a few starts, but it'd be interested to see how Chris goes with it, as it might get a little better and stronger with some racing under its belt. Certainly bred to go well.
Yeah, no, and there was, I think Duncan sold one of those at the sales this year. Beautiful black colt by Aldebaran Eagle. He did too. Yep, it's amazing how my memory works. And I was right too. That is, she was the mother of Sundon. So that's the sort of family that is. It is a ripping family. We're going to talk about one of Duncan's in a second. Joel Watson, hello to you, Joel. It's a wonder he's still talking to me. Marie Newbury, why are they both on the same night this year? A good filly can't go for both races now, and as a Queenslander, I'm sure Marie's a bit frustrated by that. We're not 100% sure. I'll try and get David Brick on in the next week or two. I might try and get him on next week if I can, before I go to New Zealand, and just see if there is a reason behind it. There'll be a reason. It's an interesting one though, I must say. It's only the second year they've had those, because last year was the first year they'd ever had the Oaks and the Derby, and they had them both a week apart, and then this year they've decided to combine them. So there'll be analytics behind that, I'd imagine, Nick.
You would only, yes, you can only assume that there's some decent decision making behind it, and I'll be interested to see what it is, because on face value it causes us to scratch our heads, but we always listen, because you never know what the reasoning is behind it, and sometimes when you find out, you go, aha. Yeah, an aha moment.
Yeah, and as I said, tune in next week. We'll get Bricky on. I'll make a point of having Bricky on next week, and we'll get some of those questions answered. I want to go to Bankstown, because this one had my head spinning a little bit, and I'm going to go to race number 3 for a start, because we're talking there about Aldebaran Eagle. Now, an Aldebaran Eagle at a Meredith Castle, because Meredith Castle is a half sister to a pretty good mare in La Cucaracha, amongst others. It's just a terrific family. So then I went and watched a replay just to see it, and these horses had bloody hobbles on, Nick. You don't see this very, very often, do you? A nicely bred trotting family, and it's pacing.
No. I mean, again, if we look through, more often than not, you get pacers who decide that they want to trot. It doesn't actually go back the other way too often. So it's always a little curious.
It is indeed. Marg Lee's watching. Congratulations, Margie. I had Paddy on last week. I interviewed Jason when we were up there as well. So, no, they've had a terrific run. Electro Jet won the other race. It was this the first race that I wanted to highlight. Grant Forrest filled the first 4 of the first 5 placings, with Young Sun, previously trained by Ross Graham, in the middle. But 3 of these horses went around the afternoon before Canberra. So they're going from Canberra to Bankstown. Granny Forrest he's not scared to travel them, that's for sure.
No, because I think he had them in horses in on the Saturday night as well, if I'm not mistaken. So, enjoying the rural sights of New South Wales for sure.
Here's Sally M, actually, Bacardi Lindy at a Run Pepper Run. She won at both Bankstown today, and she also won at Newcastle. Sorry, not Newcastle, Canberra the day before. Good to see they're having trot races at Canberra as well. I think that's something exciting. So I actually looked there and I was like, what am I looking here for? And then I thought, hang on, there is a trot. It was the last race. And yeah, Sally M, full field of 9 horses, which is great.
Yeah, look, I can't say that I follow Canberra racing that closely, but you're right. That's good to see them embracing it as well.
Yep, we want to keep growing it. Nick, any more observations for yourself? Gillian Norris, hello to you, Gillian. We've got plenty of great people on tonight. It's good to see too. So, any other observations for yourself, Nick, over the last week?
No, they were. I think we've covered them. Some really good racing, some great results. Lots to look forward to in the next week or two, especially over in New Zealand. The feature racing here in Australia quietens down, but can't wait for what Queensland has on offer, and be interested to get more info next week when you've got one of the team from up there on to tell us all about it. So, that'll be good listening.
Yeah, and we'll get some more updates on who's going to the Harrison Trotters Great Square as well, because there is 4 spots already taken, I believe, and then there's a few others definitely putting their hands up going for that. So David Miles is on his way up there. You can't have too much David Miles, I reckon, but I reckon we've had our fill for him for the year. I reckon he's going to have to be benched now for a while. If he wins in Queensland, I'll be in trouble, that's for sure.
Well, it'll make for entertaining listening whenever David is on, that's for sure.
I had him on last week. He'd had too many red wines. Nick, thank you very much. I'm going to get you on a bit more regularly. We'll have you on the trotting show. We'll have you on the pacing show as well. I want to continue to, I suppose, bring the oddities up, but also just enjoy the sport. I know you enjoy it. We might be able to even get a couple of live times if I get out and about through the winter months. We might try and do that a bit going forward. There's some talk of a few things happening shortly that might fit both our calendars, and we might be able to do a bit more regular. But, mate, I'm looking forward to it. I really appreciate you coming on and giving us a bit of insight for the Trotters, my friend.
Thank you for having us. It's been good fun, and, I'll catch up with you again soon.
No, thank you very much, mate.
Bye-bye.
We have Nick Hooper, so a big thank you to him as well. So huge thank you to everyone that's tuned into the show. Marie Newbury will try and get an answer for you next week as well onto that. Huge thank you to all my sponsors, NZB, Barristock, Yabby Dam, Woodland Stud and Nutrien Equine. I'll take that one off for the sec. The guys at Woodlands, of course, have 41. I didn't get that one on there. And the Winter Woolies catalogue is going to be out very, very shortly. Don't forget that sale with mares, yearlings, going to be about 112, 113 horses will be on offer. Starts the 3rd of June, finishes on the 5th of June. So that'll be a Campbell's Comments Winter Woolies madness. If you want to tune in to On Loose Lines on Wednesday night, the race you can't win anymore. That one race you wanted to win, and it's disappeared off the calendar. There'd be plenty of them out there. Michael House is on there. He'll have a few as well. So if you want to tune in, get involved. Want to know the race that you can't win anymore. Mine was the Bendigo Guineas. I was thinking about it the other day. It was one of those time-honoured 3-year-old races. I'm pretty sure Mother Courage won it. And a couple other nice horses going through. Vinnie Knight made a mockery of it through his halcyon days. I know that. On the same night as the Bendigo Pacing Cup, the Trotting Cup was on the same. It was a huge night here in Bendigo. Those days are gone. But we can't look back. We've got to look forward, but just have a bit of fun. Some of the races you know you can't win anymore, and bring the names up. The Eldorado was brought up the other night, and the Smile Mile actually was another one that was brought up that are no longer around. So that'll be Wednesday night for On Loose Lines. Get involved in that. Some of those races that we can no longer win. Thank you to everyone that's tuned in. Thank you very much to Nick Hooper. Talking Trotters, been a big, big week in trotting. I will be back next Tuesday night. Then we'll be in New Zealand as well. So I'll be bringing plenty of New Zealand content. We'll catch up with a couple of the bigger players in New Zealand for some, I suppose, interviews and sit down thoughts about the trotting game going forward, especially this breeding year. But thank you to everyone that's tuned in, and I look forward to catching up with you all next week.